Hi, doing a quick video on the Kundalini because somebody sent me a question. What is my opinion on the Kundalini? And what does it say? What is the point of the Kundalini energy? And is it to free our soul from the moon gods? And so I have an opinion about the moon gods because I know that the moon was Noah's Ark in a sense. It's Ma'at's Ark, the lotus. So I don't want to get into too much of that. But so that would be the Magdala moon, Mary Magdalene, and that is the seed of many species in the Essene Gospels. Behold the moon, the seed of many species, which holdeth within itself the seed of many species. Let me say it right. And so I also know that these sites, they work when the moon is centered in a circle of trees, like when the moon moves like this over, and it goes over east to west, and then it moves like this too. So when it's lined up with that tree is when that gate goes to the moon, to Saturn, to the Andromeda galaxy. So, and that is I got off of the internet when I was just looking up Astrum Argentum, when I started researching the diagram of that site. So, the Kundalini energy is basically the healing of the double helix, triple helix, even quadrihelix DNA. So everything that's been separated, the Akaris, all the indigo star seeds, and everybody, they're all here. They incarnated specifically into bodies that would be able to unlock this DNA. So why do they call it a snake coiled at the base of your spine? What are they doing all this? Why are they saying all this stuff? Well, you have to learn about your thought forms first. Because your thought forms are very important, especially when you're doing meditation and doing your ascension process. So I personally do not recommend anybody picture a snake going up the base of their spine, because your thought forms are important. And in the Essene Gospels, Jeshua says, I gave you that which you needed to heal yourself, and you turned it into the image of a serpent. And so that's something to think about. It's really a light. And there's all these information centers. So it's really a light source that comes and flows from you to the source. You don't want to be like thinking of it as a snake. The reason they show it as this blue and red snake is because that's the separation of the DNA, and then it comes back together. That is why you will see that double helix Kundalini snake on all the medical type of stuff, because the breaking up of those two strands of DNA is why we're not able to heal ourselves any longer. And it also cut off our access to bliss or blessings. So through dogma and all those types of stuff. So now the number we find associated with Kundalini over and over and over again, and I have to thank Mike Hoggard. If you can sit through Mike Hoggard's videos, I recommend learning and expanding from them. They are extremely difficult. You have to really want the knowledge to listen to them. But we see that the number 39 is associated with this Kundalini. And also, 39 is the number of the Kundalini little, I'll draw it. It goes like this. So we know what that looks like, right? A diamond. And also a baseball diamond. And it goes like this. And then it goes like this. Okay, and it's got the crooked dragon, the Leviathan. I'm not going to do anything with that. The Leviathan. So we go with the Leviathan. We understand. So now we understand, okay, we've got this, probably this draconian DNA is what we're looking at. So we've got the number 39. Now on here, you've got 39. I wrote this so you can see it. 13, 13, 13 is January 13th. 2013, okay, and 13, 13, 13 equals 39, okay. Now, I thought it was interesting because I've been thinking for like the last month, I wonder if I'm going to go to the Christmas tree auction this year, because, I used to be like in the chamber, and I've been like ambassador of the month and things like that, and so, but I recently did a video on the corrupt Chamber of Commerce, so I don't know if I should go, or, but I made this fabulous dress last year, and I'm kind of wanting to go wear it, so I've been thinking about it, and then I got bing bing my invitation, and so I was like, oh, okay, crazy that the date for the Christmas tree auction is 12/6, 12/6, which is 666 13, 2013, 666 13. Got it? and it's the 33rd annual Christmas tree auction. I'm just saying, the numbers are always really interesting to me when they pop up, especially if I've been thinking about something lately. It's like, oh my God, the Matrix wants to talk to me all the time. But so basically, this is part of your Kundalini experience. So just an idea. I mean, everybody was like, oh, 2012, 2012. And you must understand that I started looking into 2012 in the year 2003 and 2004, 2003. And there was nothing about the end of the world. It was all about the end of disease and the end of poverty and the end of everything. And they didn't explain it in the way that Tila Tequila had read it from the Voyager series, which was that will be the end, the release of the Saturn or the Samson Matrix, as she calls it. But I'm fairly certain that she's reading that wrong. But it's the Saturn matrix, which is beamed from Saturn to the moon and then onto Earth. So that's why the Satanists are associated with Saturn, and Satan is associated with Saturn, because these Luciferians that control the planet of Saturn. So they're like kind of, in a sense, controlling the female energy on the planet, which can either be the nurturing mother or the destroyer, Kali. So it goes both ways, you know. Like the owl story, Phoenician owl story. She rips the head off her son, and then she's like, you know, she gets exiled. She represents the Black Madonna. And I think that's called the Dionysus story, and Dionysus is the Black Sun. So the Kundalini is basically, I call the Christ consciousness the healing of all your normal DNA. The Kundalini is a little bit different. That's got the draconian DNA move in with it. And they're waiting for this date, this 39 date, and they have 3 strands of 12. So it's a little bit different. And they're waiting for this date so that they will activate, so they can access the Kundalini energy, the Leviathan energy on the planet, and literally turn people into like almost like beasts, like zombies, like those people that have not been initiated astrally, or I'll get into that. Astral initiation. If they haven't had their astral initiation or baptism of the Spirit, they won't be able to. They're not going to be able to defeat the dragon. Does that make sense? Lucifer or the Archangel Michael, whatever story you have, is not going to be able to defeat the dragon. And I've been into churches in the Midwest that have giant stained glass windows of the knight defeating the dragon. And yet here in the Bible, we don't really talk about the dragons, do we? But you can go to old treasure maps. I mean, like old maps, very old maps. And I mean, they'll show like, here's a shire, you know, and here's a land, and then over here you've got, you know, here be dragons, so there be dragons, and you didn't go there because there were dragons. So you kind of have to go back into this this dragon, and what does this dragon symbolize? Maybe it's a real dragon, and I'll get into that video next, because I'm doing the Kundalini video. I want to go ahead and tell my story about the dragon of India. But so 39 triple helix DNA versus your 12 or your Akari 24, which is the Akari is the twin flame potential. So I would be not trying to meditate on any snakes on the bottom of your spine. Silly, it's kind of silly. And more concentrate on the light. And the love, the real love, not your Hollywood love that we've been given as a counterfeit, but the real love, real compassion, seeing through the eyes of a God, and that means, I mean, truly seeing from the eyes of a God, not from a goyim. So and a goyim is spelled Gollum, and what does Gollum do? He just wants the gold, he just wants the ring, he just wants the power, he just wants his precious. So it's like, and I'm looking at the clock because I don't want to go too fast, but so you have to think about the goyim, or what they call everybody on the outside that's not initiated. You're goyim. If you don't know anything, then you're goyim, and you're Gollum. You're narrow-minded. You search after your own satisfactions. You're a beast. The Gollum in Lord of the Rings represents the beast, and it's that beast mentality. So that Leviathan energy taps into that beast mentality, and if you have not already been lit, then it will just overrun. And that's why they say it's like a zombie apocalypse coming, because these people aren't going to be able to control that Leviathan energy within them, or that Kundalini energy within them, and they will turn into beasts and monsters, and that's why they become soldiers of Satan, recruited into Satan's army, and Satan and the devil and whatever. And so this Christ consciousness is also what happened when Moses got his awakening. This Christ consciousness came. He got awakened. It was the Christ period was coming around. He was awakened. He understood who he was and what he was here to do. And he took the Hebrews out of bondage, out of Egypt. So into the promised land, which we are finally here in the United States, the promised land, yay! So especially if you're in America and you're like getting into that, I know a lot of people. On a side note, I remember being at Bible study home group one night at church on like a Tuesday night or something, and we were at funny story because there's so many people who live in California, people take it for granted, but like for instance, the manager of the Red Sox when they won the World Series, that manager was from my church. And so the people that we do home group on, they have like pictures of them holding like the World Series cup, and they're architects and stuff like that. So I've seen them around the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. But I always hit them up about questions about 9/11, because my father-in-law was Jeff King, and so I know a lot of information. So I'm always trying to question people, keep them on their toes, and about religion too. But it was really interesting. I was sitting at a table and we were talking about like what's going on with the world and the terrorism and the orange level and what's going on, and it's getting so bad here. And this one girl, she said, I'm getting out of here. I'm gonna leave here. I'm leaving. I want to move to Australia. And I looked straight at her and I was like, not me. I'm staying and fighting. And she just looked at me like, and I was like, it's not because I'm such a fighter, it's because I know the truth, and there is nowhere that you can go to hide from this. And I always like quote Tori Amos, but you can't stop what's coming, can't stop what's on its way. Not even you know. You can't. You're a runner, a coward, and you're done, or you're still gonna stay and you're gonna fight and you're gonna have the backing of what we call heaven. So like Joan of Arc. Look into the Joan of Arc story. Listen to it on YouTube. If you have 45 minutes, an hour, you'll have your socks blown away. Especially if you live in Visalia or this area. Because you'll find out that Joan of Arc is related to Mary Magdalene, is related to the saints, is related to Saint Denis of France, which is related to Dracula, which is related to Jesus, which is related to 7-Eleven. And who did she get help from? The Burgundy House Apartments with the grapes on the front. And she blew open the gates in the Battle of Orleans. And now here in America, we have New Orleans and New York. We have still the Yorks and the Orleans fighting against each other, the red rose and the white rose. So it's important to know these things. The red and the white rose are also in the Snow White story. So it's important to know that. And then we have over here the orchard place that they just put up. And the orchard place is all red and white roses, where all the other places are just the red roses. That has red and white roses, and it's the orchard, and only apples are orchards. And it just goes on and on and on, the allegory in this area. And so people will think like, this is just like going into the Kundalini again. I'm going to stay right on the topic. Like, oh, well, I have a hard time thinking that Visalia is like so important. Well, that's not like saying like you have a hard time believing that you're that important, number one, which you are. And that's like saying, that where you live isn't important. But if you live in this area, if you live anywhere in California, like I just tell people, like, look, you could go anywhere in the world and say, I'm from California. You do not have to explain where you're from, where it's at. They just want to know if you surf, man. So it's like it's kind of crazy, even though like I live in farm town, like the breadbasket of the world, which also means Bethlehem, and house of bread. But so, and then you have to think too, is I live about 2.5 hours from Hollywood. So you can go anywhere in the world and say, I live a couple hours from Hollywood, and they're going to know where you're talking about. So people that live in Visalia, you don't think it's that big of a deal. First of all, you're in Cali, as in the goddess, Kali, as in Kundalini, Kali. You're in California, which I don't even know who Nia is. I keep saying, who's this Nia? Maybe it's Nana. Maybe that's me. And then also, you've got Visalia being directly in between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's kind of like the Mecca. It's the Jericho for these large cities. All the elites can have a place to come to, and I can get into that a whole other episode. Next, I'm going to talk about the Dragon of India. But that's my story on the Kundalini and this Kali energy, Kali yoga, release of the Leviathan energy. You have to conquer that dragon, walk the middle path, balance the black and the red, all that type of stuff. So I think that's it. That's all I have to say about the Kundalini. If you have any more questions, I can try to answer them the best I can. I kind of think right now it's like Kundalini versus Christ consciousness, because Kundalini more represents the demonic seed, and Christ consciousness more represents Isis, Ra, Elohim, the Israel, gene of Isis, Genesis. So, and the freedom of those beings. So, that's it. Peace, and thanks for tuning in.